to your title, mental health advocate. I want to talk about that because mental health is something that we hopefully are all concerned about. I know a lot of people have challenges and struggles in that area. And specifically, since you're a chef and you deal with plant-powered and plant-based foods, what can you tell us is the relationship between plants and your mental health?
Well, there's so much I can say about that topic. And unfortunately, it's one of those areas that is not as well researched as we'd like. I think a lot of us know that what we eat can be good for our physical health, meaning our cardiovascular health, blood pressure, heart disease, cancer, all those things. But with mental health, there's just not as many studies. However, I can tell you because of the work I've been doing with an amazing organization called Hope Clubhouse,
Right.
you can tell between a healthy diet and your mental mood that the two go hand in hand. So what does that mean? And what I have seen personally is the more real foods you can eat, real whole foods that are alive. And what I mean by that is eating, here would be a really good example, eating an orange versus drinking an orange soda, right? Like the orange is going to provide you so much life and nutrition. Orange soda, not so much. It might give you a little jolt of sugar, but then you're going to come right back down.
Crash. Yeah.
And even, strawberries, like eating a real strawberry versus, like even strawberry yogurt, eating that whole food is really so beneficial for not just your physical health, but your mental health. So an easy tip I always teach is if the food is alive, right, in its natural state, it's going to help make you feel more alive. And that, of course, is so key for our mental state.
Now, how does that relate to cooking or frozen foods, or does it not matter?
Yeah.
Being alive.
Yeah. So of course there's a lot of research out there about the benefits of eating more raw foods. I do a combination of both. So of course, if you don't have to cook something, the shorter time you can cook something, I always look at the better, but there's a few reasons behind that. One is I don't like to be in the kitchen all day long. So assembling meals, like for example, last night I made a miso glazed whole wheat pasta with black pepper and broccoli greens. So that was of course all cooked, but then I sliced it with topped it with fresh cherry tomatoes and bell peppers. So I kind of had a great variation of the cooked and the raw. But really when you want to boost your immune system, we've heard the saying forever, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. You want to have a good combination of eating whole foods that are unprocessed and are in their natural state, if you can.
Right. Okay. So like we're talking about the really high end. When I'm talking about not cooking or frozen, that's really way up there. But on the low end, we want to avoid, from what you're saying, like processed foods, unnatural foods, chemicals, I guess. Right? I mean, all that's going to be
all right in there. Okay. Yeah. If one of my favorite sayings, and I'm trying to remember the doctor that said it, I think it was Dr. Clapper, that if it's made by a plant, eat it. If it's made in a plant, meaning by humans, try to not eat that so much. Of course, there's a balance. There's a balance to everything. There's a balance to life. But if a majority of your food is really whole foods, even if it is frozen, I mean, I always have frozen cauliflower rice and broccoli and things in my freezer. That is perfectly okay. It still has its water, its fiber, and is in its natural form.
Okay, so what do you see on a practical basis? Since you work at a place called the Hope Clubhouse, you're seeing the stuff in action. You're cooking there. You see people who are there for different reasons. What are you observing with dietary changes? What happens to people?
Well, so there's a lot to do with the work that I do is always built around community. And really when we think about food can create a lot of community for us, whether we're sharing that meal with our family, our friends, we're making it for a neighbor. Food always brings togetherness. Okay. So part of food for a lot of us is that connection that we all so desire. So no, how does that pertain to what we eat and our mood? It can mean a lot for so many people, but at the end of the day, I always think connection first, and then having a majority of the foods on our plate as real and whole as absolutely possible, but keeping it simple too, not overcomplicating it.
Okay. All right. So just like you said, as long as you're getting more towards the whole plants, that balance that you mentioned, right? You're going to keep that balance. Things will be in better balance, I guess. And that can lead to a number of other questions that I might have. And let's see, where can I, well, one of the other components besides food is exercise. So how does exercise fit into this equation of balance?
Yeah, moving, especially during the times that we're in right now when we're kind of being told that we need to isolate, is getting outside and moving our bodies if you can get outside. I know some places right now the weather is still a little bit chilly, but outside exercise at least 30 minutes, and not making a priority to be in front of the TV. Make it a priority to at least look out the window if you can't get outside, exercise in front of a window. If you need suggestions on what movements you can do at home, there are endless amounts on YouTube. I mean, endless amounts. But at the clubhouse, when we're normally operating, how we look at our exercise is we have a garden on property. Actually, it's more like a food forest where we have all kinds of ways to get our hands dirty and our bodies moving. And we also do wellness walks. So a key thing that I like to tell people is go for a nice walk in the morning, and then one after lunch and one after dinner if you can. You'll be shocked at how good and alive you feel just allowing yourself to pause, step away from technology, and just get outside and take in those deep breaths of air. I personally do it, and I'm blown away. About an hour walk, you can burn almost 400 calories, and you just feel great afterwards.
And so what you're focusing on, like with this exercise, the aerobic activity, right? You're getting that circulatory system moving. Is that the important part?
For me, anything that can allow the mind to relax. So for some people, that's heavy lifting. For other people, that can be really stressful. So I personally find it, right? I personally find whatever physical movement can allow the mind to relax, do that one more. Breathe. Like I can get a really good workout doing a pretty heavy walk, but some people are more runners too. So whatever is allowing you to really breathe, connect, and feel at peace, that is what I would recommend, especially during these times. And then of course, if we can get back into the gym, I love a healthy combination of weights and cardio, but I do think the mind is the most important. If you feel stressed when you're working out, let's re-look at that working out.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, I haven't been to the gym. The gyms have closed in almost every place around now. I'm sure my muscles are atrophying a little bit, but I was really only going, not because I'm a bodybuilder, but just because I like to have muscles that have some strength to them because, well, this is getting a little bit off topic, but sometimes, you tend to get injured if you don't have that, just even a little bit of strength and you do something wrong. But I've also find that the aerobic exercise is what does it mentally for me.
Yeah.
It's that escape, just the pause, and also just moving getting that circulatory system moving. It seems like that it's very clearing, and I guess it's recentering, rebalancing, like you were talking about.
Yeah, it's a great way. I always look at it's a great way to get some of that stagnant energy and just let it get out. Because sometimes, especially during stressful times, which a lot of us, I think, live stressful lives and forget that we actually can calm that down. And physical movement and diet is so key. Of course, I'm also a huge believer in stillness and meditation, but there's beautiful meditation walks. There's beautiful, I host meditation classes, and I just love that almost you're kind of like mandated, but take that 20 minutes or 10 minutes and really just pause and allow yourself to breathe, and not get so lost in your thoughts. So those key things: diet, movement, and actually stillness, but not stillness in front of a TV. I'm talking
right. Not
with your phone, just stillness.
Okay, so it sounds like you believe, because I've had this talk with Zyzo before, our director of mindfulness, that the body is designed to move. Is that right? Everyone is designed to move. Do you believe that? I mean, I don't know.
I'm a big believer in guidance. So if you feel very, guided to move, but I do naturally think, at least in my own personal story, movement helps my anxiety. It definitely helps my depression, because after going through a pretty serious 8-month depression where all I did was lay in bed, I will tell you, then when I changed my diet to a plant-based diet, I couldn't stop moving. I had so much energy, I didn't know what to do with.
That
So
helps.
generally, when you're eating a more high, alive whole foods that are really going to give you energy, sitting down is not really normally where you want to be. In fact, even having to do all these Zoom calls with
Yeah.
virtually working now, sometimes I'm like, I can't sit anymore. So I do like to break apart in the day and just make sure I'm getting just everything moving. I feel fresher. I feel clear, like that uncertainty and brain fog I don't get as long
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
I
So I
move.
get that. I mean, what you're saying, it resonates with me. I know that I think that both you and I probably also are on a regular exercise routine. So
Yeah.
we're speaking from a different area. I think that so many people aren't. And it's hard when you're not into that, right? To start something up. And it's hard to not, to recognize what you said about like, hey, changing my diet gave me all this energy. And then I need to move and I feel better. And I think that's all part of that balance. I think that everyone has their own unique balance, but I
Yeah.
think it includes all of these components that we're talking about, right? All of the food and the exercise.
And it starts just with one step. And the key thing is knowing on this journey that we call life, you're not alone in it. And so even though it can feel overwhelming, and for some, exercise may be the easiest thing of their day, but maybe their food choices is where they get a little overwhelmed, or maybe they can't sit still to meditate, or maybe they can't even sit still to have a conversation with their family without having to be on their cell phone or computer or have the TV on. So, but it just takes one step. So if you haven't, for example, had a lot of movement, just start with a 5-minute walk. Allow yourself to just deep breathe, connect. You don't need anything fancy to walk at all, except outside. You can even walk inside if your weather is still not appropriate. And same with cooking. Just start with one meal, start with one small change, because the key when it comes to mental health is staying at peace, not going to that place of anxiety and overwhelm. So just allow yourself some grace and some time, and it will start to all feel very natural to you. Where I'm sure you can relate, Mike, right now, since the gyms are closed, it's very unnatural to not go to the gym.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to go. I want to go get that morning, sweat on and get my heart rate up. And so eventually we all get there in time. So this is where we have to be nice to ourselves and really allow that time and just take one step.
Yeah, I've been improvising. I've been just using my own body as weights, like push-ups and planks. That's really
Yeah.
what I've been concentrating on. I can do that anywhere.
I still don't like push-ups, but I'm doing my best to like them.
Yeah, I don't like them either. Believe me, it's like I have to do something, so that's what I can do right now. And like you were talking about, like people have different places where they are starting off, and I think that you get the same benefits, especially if you're just starting off, right? You tend to improve quickly, even if it's just walking, and you get that benefit right away. Because someone like me, or maybe like you, I find that since I've been doing exercising a while, I have to really push myself to get that moving again, the circulatory system, because I'm more in shape. So I have to work harder, you know what I'm saying, to get the same results.
Yep.
Notice that.
Yeah, and it just and I always just measure the success of a lot of the things that I do. Once again, is how long am I feeling more at inner peace? Because that mental ease and that mental clarity are worth so much. And that's why I tell people, like, if the idea of running, for example, causes me anxiety, I'm not that good of a runner. That's why I go to the gym. So I have trainers tell me I have to run.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with walking. And then if you feel compelled to run, do it. But it's kind of not putting so many expectations on the experience, and just going through it, and starting with small blocks of time, so you don't have that overwhelm come in.
Okay, and I find that you got to do something you like, right? I mean, purposeful exercise I find is probably the best thing. Like well, it's hard to walk to the store now. In fact, you should probably try to get stuff delivered if you can. But let's fast forward to where maybe we're beyond coronavirus. Purposeful walking is great because if you get into that routine, you'll tend to keep going. Or just finding something you like. Like right now, my wife and I are going out to really remote places where there aren't anybody, up in the mountains. to get our exercise, because we don't have to see any other people, and it's some really nice scenery, and it's a challenge, and it's different every time too. So that for us that works, and at least for
And
now.
you can play the color game. It's really fun sometimes. So I'm down in Southwest Florida. We don't have any mountains, but we barely have any hills. But sometimes you could go out and say, I want to find 10 things that are purple, and just like try to find, look for purple things or maybe yellow things. Maybe don't go with the color green or something that's like always in the grass. But do that. In our neighborhood, we have a lot of cul-de-sacs. So we played a game where we could only turn right, and we had to turn right, and kind of just allowed you to go down a different path. But the movement is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to your mental health. But it is so key, and it's free to do. And if you don't have, say you don't have great knees, or you a bad back, so some of these things you're not able to do, you can easily do things just simply with a chair, whether it be just standing up and down, things that you can just, raise your arms and your legs. There's different ways to really allow you to deep breathe and just allow the mind to relax. And that's the freedom you're going to get in exercise.
Okay. All right. Now let me ask a little bit more challenging question here. I know this is, okay, here we go. Because we're talking about balance, right? Everything you've talked about so far, the food brings you into balance or brings you out of balance, right? The movement brings you into balance or brings you out of balance. All this is a factor. How about specific things? Because I know that, ingrained in our culture, and I mean, I'm not saying I don't live a perfect life, but caffeine and alcohol are in there. Okay, they are everywhere. It's coffee and wine, and coffee, beer, whatever. It's like, how does that factor into all this? What do people need to look out for? Is it all fine? And what are your thoughts on all of this?
Oh, that's such a good. So I am a rare bird. I don't drink like any caffeine because it makes my heart race so fast, and I talk even faster than
It does to me. Yeah.
So it's very easy for me to not really consume caffeine, but that wasn't that true many years ago when I used to drink like those big gulps of that you get at the gas station. Diet Pepsi used to be my caffeine of choice. So it is a balance, and wine, I can relate. I love a really great glass of wine, but there's a balance there.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're ever feeling like I need to have, or I can't relax, that's always a sign of like, let's go into our tool chest and try something else too. Because a lot of people, and I've definitely been there too, would have the belief system, I need to have this caffeine because I'm tired, or I need to have this glass of wine because I need to calm down. When you're having that, there's certain things, breathing, meditating, going for a walk, sometimes just folding laundry, or even praying can really pause it from I need to then you get to have, because then you can have moderation and not have so much. But I agree, there's a lot of interesting studies out there about caffeine and alcohol as it pertains to overall wellness. But sometimes I think I don't have all the answers for that. I just know if I drink caffeine, I can't even sleep. So
yeah. Well, for me, yeah. I mean, maybe it's a factor of eating mostly plants and exercising, and having energy. But I can have caffeine, and I do, but it doesn't take much. And I cannot have it in the afternoon. Let's put it that way. It can be in the morning, but not in the afternoon. And so that I see the same thing. But I think that may be a consequence of, not a good consequence, right? A good side effect of eating properly and exercising properly. So that's good. And also there's other people that they say I also would lump this in maybe as a mental health thing. You tell me if I'm wrong or not, I don't know. But just people who can't sleep, right? That's a common problem as well. People can't sleep. And I find that in my experience, well, yeah, caffeine, I guess, could be an issue with that. I don't know. But it also could be an issue of maybe someone really needs those aerobic challenges. So that's how I would look at like exercise, like a challenge, right? You always have to challenge yourself a little bit, because if you don't challenge yourself, you'll always fall to meet that mark, I guess. That's how I look at it, right? So maybe some people need to challenge themselves more than others in order to get good sleep? You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying. Maybe is that a factor with sleep?
Well, I
Exercise?
just think a lot of times good sleep comes from an easy mind. So then the question becomes, maybe going for a real endurance workout for you is a way to calm the mind. For other people, it could be meditation. For some people, it may be sewing, coloring, cooking. For me, cooking is a really great way to allow my mind to relax. And some people, it's a bath or showering. That's why I think a lot of people like to take baths and stuff before bed, because it's just very relaxing. But the key thing here is the awareness. Where do you actually find that your mind can be at ease? That's not sleeping, because
Okay.
it's one thing. And so, but it can be hard. So when I'm having troublesome night's sleep, and I normally am a great sleeper, the last 2 weeks have been a real challenge for me.
Yeah.
I just started to notice certain patterns. And as soon as I actually started meditating in the evening. I never used to meditate in the evening. And now that I do that, I really noticed a difference.
Okay.
But then as soon as, sometimes if you just can't sleep that well, it's sometimes a really good time to pray or meditate. You're up, try not to let your mind go crazy, and do a breathing technique. That normally puts me right back to sleep.
Yeah, breathing is important. I never realized the importance of that.
Breathing.
I started. You just do it. You don't even think about it. But the fact that consciously inhaling and exhaling,
Yeah.
that is a newer concept to me.
If
And
you want, yeah, a good one when you can't sleep is just laying there and visualizing that. And I close my eyes naturally. Breathe in through the bottom of your feet, like when you're laying in bed, and like allow yourself to the air to come all the way up, and then kind of just let it go through the top of the crown of your head. And when it goes out the top of your head, count 1, and then do it again, count 2, do it again until you get to 5, and then just restart. And I bet by your second or third time through, you'll be asleep.
okay, yeah, it's like almost like counting sheep, kind of.
Yeah, but you're focusing on your breath, and you're kind of allowing the mind to come back down. Because I know and your mind may start racing during your breathing, and that's okay. You just go right back to the breathing. It sounds so simple, but it is easy, because yeah, and it normally will work every time.
Okay. Well, these have been some great pointers, and as we both I think mentioned, it all this depends on the individual as to what you need or what you should do or what's most effective, right? I mean, everyone's different. So the goal here is probably just trying to find out what works for you, right? And that balance point and what you need to do with your diet, your mindfulness, your exercise, all these things. But you know, so
And the biggest thing with mental health is just knowing that you're not alone. You're never alone, whether it's with another human being or with spirit. You're not alone in it, and don't be afraid to communicate about it. There's been a lot of fear and prejudices associated with talking about our mental health,
right.
and there doesn't need to be. I am somebody who's lived through anxiety and depression. And I know what that can feel like, but I also know on the outside of it, how healing it can be. And you can live a perfect, I eat a pretty whole food, plant-based diet, and I can still have days where I feel a little maybe off or depressed. But now I look at those days, that just means I need to pause, and I need to kind of shake some things off. I need to let some things go that I might be holding on to.
Well, that right. Also, that you could just have a bad day. Sometimes a lot of bad things
Have a
happen
bad
all at once in one day. Just a bad day, right?
you can have a bad day, and what's so key, like, always have that go-to, that comfort meal for you, so then you don't just always go to something maybe that's really off the wagon. But there's always something, like for me, I love, there's a few things I love. I always keep in the freezer these little, like, banana peanut butter protein balls. I don't know
Okay.
why I find them so comforting. But sometimes when you're just having an off day, it's like, this too shall pass. It's going to be okay. And I
Right.
have one of my little peanut butter bites, and you just get through it. But yes, know that the movement, the food, the sleep, and the stillness definitely help improve your mental health.
All right. Well, I look forward to talking with you more about these things in the near future. And keep up the great work at the Hope Clubhouse of Southwest Florida. And how can folks best get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can find me at hallwaystories.com, and you can also learn more about mental health services throughout Southwest Florida and actually throughout the world by visiting hopeclubhouse.org. I would love to connect with anybody that is has any questions or wants to get involved with mental health services. It's a great community to be a part of.
All right, excellent. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. See you later.